Just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Yeah, this is my road. Lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. Way too long, we faced them storms. Now you gon' face
You're
the dawn.
listening
You
to the
waiting
Tom
for.
Ficklin
I
Show
said
on
from 19
WNHHLP 103.5 FM. We're broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your Facebook page and look us up.
Good morning. This is Earl Bloodworth, and I am filling in for Tom Ficklin. I want to give thanks to Tom Ficklin for providing an opportunity and platform to discuss some of the issues that we're dealing with in the world of reentry. Going to have a guest on shortly, but I wanted to talk about an article, a paper that was written by Tony McCreight Jr., who's part of the Justice Reform Fellow Institute for Youth Education and Families, as well as the National League of Cities. And Mr. McCreight writes about the challenge and promise of reentry in municipalities. City efforts to support effective return from jails and prisons, the process known as reentry, exists in a complex landscape shaped by direct service and coordination. Based on a landscape analysis, National League of Cities offers several recommendations about next steps and new directions that cities can take to leverage additional partners, resources, and achieve greater impact. Understanding the reentry landscape is the first step in developing effective programming and ultimately eliminating the over-reliance of the criminal justice system. Definition of returning citizen. The term returning citizen replaces the stigmatized terms ex-con, ex-felon, etc., and refers to an individual who is returning home after being in prison or jail. The challenge and promise of reentry: almost 600,000 people return home from state and federal prisons yearly. That's 10,000 residents returning to municipalities weekly. 9 million cycle through local jails, most or less than a month. In the face of these numbers, many jurisdictions across the country lack the capacity or services to ensure that returning citizens are positioned to make a successful transition back to their communities. These shortcomings are exacerbated when a jurisdiction bears more of the brunt than their neighbors. For example, 50% of all people released from Illinois state prisons return to Chicago. Over 2/3 of people released from incarceration are arrested within 3 years, and almost half are reincarcerated. By contrast, viewed through a local level public safety lens, strong reentry programs lead to reduced crime, reduced victimization, reduced strain on municipal budgets, and stronger communities and families. In order to support returning citizens in their reintegration, cities, counties, states, and the federal government have developed policy and devoted resources to address complex reentry issues. Cities, often using state and federal grants, have sought to build coordinating direct service capacity. However, reentry programs fall into a policy gap with no clear designated level or responsible government agency. This leads to service fragmentation and lack of resources, likely contributing to the high rate of recidivism, which in turn drains local taxpayer dollars and further destabilizes communities. Briefly, the landscape scan, findings and recommendations for the field. The NLC YEF Institute undertook a nationwide scan of the city reentry landscape over a 6-month period in 2021. The principal methods consisted of internet research supplemented with virtual interviews and emails. Understanding the reentry landscape is the first step in developing effective programming and ultimately eliminating the over-reliance on the criminal justice system. Key findings of the scan regarding scale, scope, and emphasis of city efforts included identification of over 30 reentry offices or programs playing a variety of roles across the 4 categories that are listed below. In these categories, city approaches or discuss city approaches to reentry. The landscape scan found that city approaches to supporting reentry fall into 4 categories. Direct, the city reentry office manages all services provided to the client. Indirect, the city provides referrals, directing clients to services that are provided by private and nonprofit organizations. Combination of direct and indirect, city offices provide some services in-house and refers clients to others. Hub, the city acts as an umbrella coordinating city agencies and communicating community organizations. Here, the goal is to combine resources and increase efficiency by having all city, private, and nonprofits work together. So that is a little bit on the state of reentry as it involves cities and municipalities working in the reentry field. Today, I have Christine McFarland, who we're going to talk a little bit about some of the programming and partnerships that she has and works to develop in the city of Bridgeport as it relates to working with individuals that have been formerly incarcerated or impacted by the justice system. Christine, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Earl. I am doing well. I'm happy that it's Friday.
You and I both.
Yes. So,
tell me what's going on. Like some of the programming that's done in the Bridgeport community that you're working on. I know you work with the Mayor's Initiative for Reentry Affairs with the Bridgeport's Family First, but you also do some other programming and are building that up with other partnerships. So I'm looking forward to hearing something about that.
Yes. So, one of the roles that I have here in the city of Bridgeport is working with career resources, and at career resources have a lot of different programs that has been catering to the reentry population. Our biggest clientele is with the halfway houses, and that include 3 male houses and 1 female house, which is the Lucy Bainey house. At that, those programs are directly referred to certain programs like Strive that helps with work and support services, which is a 2-week program where they go to that program and they learn pre-work skills, work skills, any sort of training that we believe that they may be able to get that'll be beneficial to finding a job in the community with a background. We have been successful in placing those individuals in work, with work, even with the mayor's office. Mayor's office has offered opportunity to our individuals. We have one lady from Lucy Bainey who she started to work in sanitation through the Mayor's Initiative program. And again, we have a lot of our guys that do have the opportunity to actually work for the city of Bridgeport, even though they have felony backgrounds. Another program that we have there is with our Youth Strive, where we actually have collaborated with the Youth Strive program through our juvenile probation program. And that is where we make referrals to the Youth Strive program, where we give them work skills and we give them opportunity to actually get a job at a young age so that we could try to prevent them from going into adult probation or into adult prisons by offering them opportunities to earn money through work.
So with that group, what is the age group for that youth programming?
So with that youth program, we have been able to get them to start at 17 and a half. And that's giving them soft work skills at 17 and a half, like a pre-admission. And then when they turn 18, that's when they go with the full program at 18 through 21, where they get those skills where they could learn how to actually work in places like McDonald's and those places that's minimum wage jobs, but at least it gives them the opportunity to work. And rather than, committing crime in the community by, stealing cars and shoplifting and all of those things that we have our juvenile probation kids, charges. Those are the charges that we get in these days.
No, I think that's great. And I know one of the things that came out of the pandemic was a big kind of red flag that a lot of our youth didn't necessarily have an understanding of how to operate and working a 9 to 5 or those soft job skills that are needed, and especially with our youth in the urban community, giving them this path. How long is the program? Is it what, 4 weeks, 8 weeks?
It is a 8 week program for the youth.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the 8 week program, the reason why they made it 8 weeks is because, like I said, we could actually take a child that's 17 and a half years old, and up until they turn 18 years old, we'll still transition them up into that stage, which is why we made it a longer, why they made it a longer program versus the original Strive program for adults. That's only 2 weeks.
Okay. And so, along with these programs, you're also doing work in programming. You mentioned the Lucy Bainey House, which is one of the only that I'm aware of, women post incarceration housing that allows for family, or a woman and a child, I believe, from ages 0 to 5 for housing. They have room for that. So you work in that thing as well as the other halfway houses in the city of Bridgeport.
Yes, and in that role, I am the family reunification therapist. And I am the person that when a mom or a dad comes home after a long stretch of being away from a child, I help with the reunification process where where I do like a community visit with mom, get mom, and before the visit actually happens, I have conversation with mom and sessions with dad and mom and try to figure out how we could reconnect with the child in a healthy and safe way. A lot of the time, the individuals misunderstand the word reunification and they believe that I mean I'm finally connecting you with your child after so long. You haven't been on the phone with the child or Zoom or all of those ways that parents have been in contact with their children. The reunification definition for us is that we are making sure that the reconnection is a safe reconnection, that they could actually be transparent with each other upon connecting again, physically connecting again. And I've had a lot of success stories so far in the way that we've done it. We've taken the kids the jump to the jump park where mom has the chance to actually interact with her child and play in healthy play situations. We've taken them to the park. We've taken them to the zoo. We've done things that helps mom and the child or dad and the child actually have full on interactive connection with each other. And to me, that has been a successful way of reunifying the families with their children after being away for a long time.
Okay, so you were given the definition of unification. That doesn't mean that mom and dad are moving back in. It's going to be a full family unit. That just means that one of the parents, whoever might have been incarcerated, is coming back, and you're kind of doing a warm transition for that parent back into the community and back into the lives of the family that was in the community while that person was incarcerated.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. Bridging that gap, right? So it's called like bridging the gap. Like they may have, conversation over the phone and then, 20 minutes on the phone and then the phone cuts off and then, right mid conversation and all of those ways that kind of impacted the actual reunification process for the individuals throughout the time incarcerated. So we find that when we bring those people back together now, we bring the families back together, mom and a child, and we do it in a way that they could actually um, interact with each other in a normal way. We've noticed that the reunification process is successful that way.
okay. And so so you're really trying to show the importance of having both parents in the child's life, to both of the parents, whether they're going to be together or not. And does that include parenting lessons, co-parenting lessons, or how are you guys dealing with issues when DCF is involved?
So that has been a huge challenge when DCF is involved because we do have to actually comb through the logistics of whether or not the reunification process is a healthy one. When we connect mom and dad, because sometimes there are protective orders, DCF issues and concerns. So one of the things that I do is I make sure that I bring everyone to the table and I try to figure out how could we um, find a way to reconnect mom or reconnect the family, and making sure that we're not breaking any laws at the same time, and we're kind of like connecting as a unity, as a unit, so we can make sure that everything transitions in a way that can be effective for the long term.
Effective and healthy for the whole entire family.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds like amazing work. Some of you, do you have some partners that you're working with as well in this endeavor?
Yes, so we have Community Life Solutions, who at that time offers individual counseling to the children, mentoring services to the children, educational and academic and social emotional learning supports to the children, working with the families. If the families have anything that we think that may do well as far as wrapping around services for the entire family, because we need the entire family to be on board and unified in this process of accepting an individual back into the family after being away for so long. We then reach out to our community partners. We have families that benefited from connecting with Project Longevity. We have families that benefited from connecting with other organizations for substance abuse, or if they need a driver's license, or if they need any soft work skills certificates. We've done everything that we can for the entire family to make sure that the entire family is supportive to one another in the process um, of of welcoming the family member back into the home, and to reduce recidivism, right? So before the parent comes back into the home, or the family member comes back into the home, we have the welcome center that we will hope that that person visits, so that they could receive services through the welcome center that could help them reintegrate back into the community. Um, we have, again, we have the Strive program that we send. We have Marcus Cherry. If the person doesn't, hasn't been away too long and has like an extensive work background, we could send them to Marcus Cherry, and Marcus could always give them actual employment, that's gainful employment. So we've done everything that we can for the
Thank you.
family. Yeah, we've done everything
I,
that we can for the entire family, to hope in hopes that we could keep the family together and unified and reduce recidivism.
no, that's great work. I've worked with Marcus, and I am working with Marcus actually as their staffing agency under the umbrella of Career Resources. We've worked with getting individuals pipelined into the city, into our public facilities department, doing various different things, and hopefully branching out in other departments soon for individuals who have backgrounds to get gainful employment, like you said. So you named a couple of your partners. I know in working with you myself as a partner through the city, you have partners like Fathers in Education. There's a mentoring program run by Kenny Jackson. Other partners in the city like Homebridge, utilizing their facilities, which is an amazing facility, very zen like, running some pilot programs. Anything you want to shed light on around those partnerships and those pilot programs?
Yes. So in partnership with Kenny Jackson, Father um Tomb Academy and Light program,
Mm-hmm.
we are working with adult probation, where we are doing an interactive journaling pilot program with that population, and that has been so far successful as well, where we actually carve out areas of the individuals that's on probation and focus on improving that area of the individual's life through interactive journaling, allowing them to express themselves in writing and actually share it amongst a group of individuals that they could relate to. And that has been a really good program, because adult probation finds it to be um, where their individuals are actually going through the probation without any rearrest, going through the program with an accountability to one another, and choosing to stay on the right path. We've offered them phone services. We've offered them stipends and bus tokens so that they can travel. we've worked really closely with probation, and we're hoping to continue that relationship with probation. Right now, we're just running a male group, and the next endeavor is going to be a female group as well.
Oh wow, that sounds amazing. Looking forward to hearing more about that when that comes along. We'd love to have you back. Do you mind discussing some of your successes with some of this programming, working with moms and their children, or working with dads and their children? I know there's an upcoming Bridgeport Reentry Award, or Bridgeport 2024 Reentry Awards, and I believe that some of the folks that you may have been working with have been nominated in some categories. So I'm interested to hear about that and some of the successes that you've seen with this intense kind of partnership with the city through the Mayor's Initiative for Reentry Affairs, and then the other partners in the community, how coalescing around some of these families have, really elevated them to a level where they're seeing success and not being hampered by obstacles of their records.
Right. So I personally nominated one mom that took full advantage of our program. She herself is second chance, and she did receive her pardon just recently, which helped, which is going to be very helpful to her as far as taking care of her family in a single parent home. Because dad of the children, he is incarcerated as well, and she has been a single mom for quite some time now since dad has been away, and having that record and not being able to take on certain jobs that was with again that was gainful did pose somewhat of an obstacle in her life. So now that she has her pardon, we're going to see her through to make sure that she can actually be employed and be able to take care of her family. And not only her did we worked with her daughter, who was also incarcerated and recently returned home. And we sent her through the Strive program, and she graduated through Strive, and she is now employed. While she was away, we worked with her son, who's only 4 years old, but we did send him to summer camp, and we did send him to after school program because dad is the dad of the son is also incarcerated. And yeah, and so we have again worked with the entire family, and then we have her daughter who struggles between going to visit dad in federal prison, and mom not being able to do much for the family because she is a single parent. We did take her on in our mentoring program, and since then she hasn't been suspended from school as much as she used to be before, because she was just so socially emotionally disturbed that she would constantly be suspended and not be able to interact well with her peers and with teachers. So she's now she's a part of our mentoring program right now, and she received an award because she just really had a huge turnaround since she's been working with Community Life Solutions and been a part of our mentoring program with the Bridgeport Family First, who supports community life. So, that's one of our success stories. Like, we have seen the entire family through this process in order to, make sure that we could lighten some of the load that happens within a family of several incarcerated family members.
It's amazing. I mean, just the scope of that. I know one of the reasons Mayor Ganem had put in the initiative in place was around that fact that if you have, unfortunately, one family member that's incarcerated, let alone two, the likelihood of the children getting into that pipeline of incarceration is really, really exacerbated. And I think these programs that are being done either directly or indirectly, as I talked about earlier on before you came on, are very helpful in multiple cities and municipalities. So I want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you with your partners. I know you guys are out there, and I don't have you for a very long time because you're on your way to another program that
Okay.
is working with individuals and trying to inspire and help individuals. We're not talking about giving handouts to people, we're giving hand ups and letting people, take advantage of the
Yeah.
resources that are available. So um
Right.
I
So
know.
right now we are going. I'm on my way out, like Earl said, because we are launching a tutor program for our kids in the Bridgeport Board of Ed school system, because we believe that if we can get the kids back on track educationally and academically, we would see more kids in the classroom, less and to reduce the absenteeism rates, reduce the suspension rates, and going to the school with other ideas like the youth entrepreneur program that we plan to take a look at launching soon. Um,
What is that? What is?
which the Youth Entrepreneur Program is a program that we would like to introduce to the kids, where they could see themselves as business owners in the future. And we're going to start in middle schools, right? Where we can see themselves as owning corporate organizations and owning businesses, and not, being so locked into the idea of having to go to a 4-year college, or having to graduate masters or cum laude and things like that just to be successful in life. Because with this opportunity, we believe that we could have more individuals that will not choose a life of crime, but will choose a life of themselves and focus on themselves and taking care of their families in any way possible, as business owners or as the president. We don't know, but we want to offer that opportunity to these individuals at a young age. And we're starting with middle school with this program.
So you're talking about teaching these kids about leaving a legacy and generational wealth and
Yes.
literacy.
Yes, and financial literacy. We also do a financial literacy program at the Board of Ed every couple of schools. I think we did it last year. We did it in 3 different schools, where we did a youth financial literacy, where we had that group of kids create their own programs and create their own businesses, and they did an excellent job. And when after that, we went into the schools, and we went into their classrooms with gifts, and we called them up in front of the classrooms and congratulated them on their projects. And these are the kids that sat in the back of the classroom and was constantly known as the troublemaking kids, but these kids were very crafty, and they came up with some really great ideas. And we just wanted to congratulate them by coming into schools and doing that. So that's another program that we really want to pay a whole lot of attention to, and that's making those kids see that they have more to life than what they see as than what they've seen so far.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Looking forward to working with you on implementing some of those programs in the
Yes.
very near future. So what's going on with you then, Ms. McFarland? I know you had this work that you're doing that's constant, nonstop. We all know there's more than enough work to go around, and not enough people to handle it all. How are you handling this work, and how have you been rewarded?
I have been rewarded by seeing and building relationships with other individuals in the communities and other organizations, and just learning about all of the hidden jewels that the city of Bridgeport have. There's so many people doing so many great things here that that has been the rewarding part of this job, and being able to see the needs of the community, and being able to collaborate with people like you, Earl, and people like CRI, and Kenny Jackson and Tony Nelson with Fathers in Education, the Board of Ed, with Dr. Morgan and with Dr. Selena Morgan. She's been very, very supportive when it comes to working with the Board of Ed. And I think that's the most rewarding part for me so far, is being able to see where we can make a huge change and a huge difference here in the city of Bridgeport.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm putting you on the spotlight. You did receive an award a few months ago for the great service that you've been providing. You want to talk a little bit about that, and how you even incorporated the work that you were doing in receiving your award? You incorporated some of the work that you do with some of the family?
Yes, I did. So I am a Rotarian here in the city of Bridgeport, and I am the youth chair on the board for the youth program here, where we do some work with Central High School, and we do some work with and one of the Rotary clubs out of Norwalk, they recognized me for all of the work that I've that I do here in the city of Bridgeport, and pretty much, some of the things that I introduced here. And they decided that they wanted to give me the Advocate of the Award, the Advocate of the Year award, because they just didn't understand how doing so much work is possible. And I really appreciated that. And when that happened, I brought along some of my parents and my children, and I recognized them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today and doing the work that I'm doing today.
Wow, that's amazing. So, a couple of questions then. If funding wasn't an issue, which we all know is always an issue because there's only so much of a pie that we can all get a piece of, what would be something that you would like to see transpire with the work that you're doing, or something that you want to do that you haven't been able to do thus far?
Um, that's a tough one. I think that I would love to have a space where we could actually bring different programs to one space in one location, and have a community of staff that could actually work with the different programs, but provide a service to the children and the families within that space. So I'm looking to, identify a building or a space that we could actually be in one area, and work together in one space. I think that's the way I want to put it so far.
Like a one-stop shop for families that are
Yes.
impacted by the justice system.
Yes, a one-stop shop. Absolutely. That's it. And I think we're doing that now, but we're doing a community base, right?
Hmm.
Where we do home visits, I have them come to my office, I have them come to your office, we meet in the libraries. So we're all over the community, and I think the community work is excellent, but it's also great if we can just have a one-stop shop where everyone can just come into one area and do different things.
Okay. And so when you say in the one-stop shop and to do different things in one area, so community events there, having also different resources and services that families that have been impacted by the justice system might need, something like that.
Yes, different groups, pantry, being able to um, offer housing services, if we could get our hands on that type of services. Obviously, working with the kids, and having a recreational space that they can come into, and again, being able to run those therapeutic groups ongoing in one space where everyone could feel comfortable with just coming in and saying, hey, this is what I'm going through, how can you help me? And I think the mayor's initiative have been doing an excellent job with that thus far.
Oh, thank you. We have a lot of great partners like yourself, like Career Resources, Rob Ebert, and Scott Wilderman and their team, the workplace. So yeah, there's the University of Bridgeport, Housatonic Community College. All of these different organizations and agencies and entities have been very instrumental in trying to provide a support system and structure for the population that we're working with. And I think one of the things that that is so key and so phenomenal about you and what you represent and the work that you do is that you recognize that, yes, we have an individual that's locked up and incarcerated, but along with that or attached to that is a community and a family as well. And we need to be treating and looking at the whole unit, the community, the family that's on the outside, whether it be a mom, dad, or a different relative caretaker, the kid themselves or kids themselves, and the individual that's incarcerated, and making that transition for when they come out, as healthy as possible, in that
Yes.
reunification and connectivity back into the
Yes.
community, back to their family.
Yes, yes, and definitely, taking a look at family therapy, and understanding that sometimes when the parent comes home and the child is here, that maybe, a few family therapy sessions. Don't be afraid of having family sessions where we could sit together with another individual and kind of like hash things out, and discuss feelings, and how did the child feel, not having you around for so long, be ready to hear those things, and kind of like put things on the table. And I think I've been successful with that. Just recently, I had a reunification visit with a mom from the Lucy Bainey house, and I just watched the session at first for a long time, and then I noticed they just had no words for each other when they first saw each other. So I just kind of, initiated some conversation between them and just, started to talk about some things. And then they began to open up with one another after, the initiation of the conversation. But I think that's what happens if you don't have that proper reunification process take place.
Yeah, which requires some type of skilled person such as yourself to be an intermediary and mediator of that conversation, because while they might want to, that fear and that trauma, those unspoken words can be very hard at times.
Yes,
They don't
yes.
want to do all of that.
Yes. And believe me, the mom that I did this visit with last week, she actually only has about maybe 5 more months to go. But this is the perfect time. This is the perfect time to start this conversation now and to have this happen now so that when mom gets home, she kind of went through that already. She's kind of like at the point of let's get back to parenting versus let me figure out how to parent again.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's some amazing work. And as they say, we are stronger together with families and with community. Many things have changed throughout the many decades that I've lived, and I think I'm still pretty young. But one thing that remains the same is that having a strong community and a strong, supportive, connected community helps a lot.
Yes, and being creative. I mean, yesterday I just took one of the ladies from Houston, from Lucy Bainey to LA Fitness to the gym, just so she can just go and like do punch the punching bag, and let's talk about what frustrates you and what's happening. So just being creative. I think the whole creativity of what happens here in the city of Bridgeport is what's going to make us a successful community in reunification work.
Okay. So, we talked a little bit ago about, if money wasn't necessarily a problem, one of the things you would do. We talked about the one-stop shop in the community space. You have listeners out there, and you also have influential people, people with money, or people who have access to money or know people. What would you say to these folks are the most important things that are happening based on the work that you're doing and because of the work that you're doing?
I think right, right. I think if we have any funders out there that's looking forward to being a part of this movement, is once the idea comes about, maximize on the idea because it comes about daily. Like, I might be saying something now and then tomorrow we go, oh, wait a minute, this right here will be great, right? And then we just kind of let the idea go because we're like, where are we going to get the money to pay for something like that? So once the idea comes about, being available, being open to meeting, being um, a part of the process is what I would say, right? Because right now I think Lucy Bainey house would do great if they had a nice workout center in the house, or gym equipment, or ways to give those ladies an opportunity to like go into an area of the facility where they can just like exert some anger and exert some frustration. um but we don't have we haven't taken a look at the funding to do something like that. So those ideas come about as day to day things come up and we go, okay, that'll be a great opportunity. But of course funding does play a role in whether or not we could move forward on certain ideas or not.
Indeed, funding is definitely an issue always. Just like, you talked about things that are needed in the house, like for instance, like Lucy Bainey, and there are several other halfway houses that are located in the city of Bridgeport. When these individuals are being released, we need to also make sure with the work that's been being put in that these individuals, have a place to go. So housing is always a concern, making sure that people have housing. Or at the Lucy Bainey house, as you stated and I stated, it's a unique configuration where you have some moms with their children with them. Do we have enough diapers for these families? Um,
Yes.
Units that are there. So there are a lot of things that go into that work. Um, Working with the children of these folks, or working with other children that maybe are on the fence about getting into, unfortunately, the school to prison pipeline. Working with Saturday academies and tutorial programs. I know you, myself, and Mr. Tony Nelson worked on a program this past Saturday at the Bridgeport Library on Broad Street, looking to connect parents and assess parents and their children to find out exactly what their needs are academically, so we can try to help them fill some of those gaps. So that those are amazing opportunities that we really need to, like you said, maximize and let people know about and leverage.
Right. And one of the things in the future we would love to see is a transitional house, because a lot of the times the individuals leave the halfway houses homeless. A lot of the times they don't have anywhere to go when they leave the house. So they have to, call 211 and try to get on the shelter list so that they can kind of go through the shelter system in order to get housing. So we had the opportunity to have a transitional house here in the city of Bridgeport, where maybe they'll be released from the houses and they'll have like a 3 to 5 month stay. And in that time period, we could work on housing opportunities and we could work on more for them, because once they're discharged from the homes, like that's it, like we can't do anything else for them, right? So if we had that transitional housing program here in the city of Bridgeport, I think that would be a great project for us, because we're already there, right? We just need to have the opportunity and the funding in order to create something like that. And I think that's another great opportunity for any funders out there.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And like a Bridgeport is a unique city because not every city even has a halfway house for women to begin with. A lot
Right.
of municipalities are sending their or the women that are getting released from the facility, the York facility, Department of Corrections, are going to like Hartford or coming to Bridgeport because there are not a lot of facilities out there for women. And along with the men, as you just said, there's not a lot of transitional housing out there to provide that soft landing to transition into something stable and safe for these individuals as they collect themselves and get themselves together to reintegrate back into the community from which they
Right, and
came.
not to mention Miss Kim Harris is doing an amazing job with the Lucy Bainey House. She makes it very welcoming, very homely. And like you mentioned, Earl, there's a daycare center attached to the house. So if a woman comes in and she has her baby, she's able to actually put her baby in childcare within 5 weeks of being in the Lucy Bainey house, so that mom could get out there and back into the workforce and back out there into the community immediately. We also put some other things in place with that. We have a midwife that comes in. We have a lot of supports that come into the facility to help mom through her through her pre, what do you call that when you,
Prenatal, prenatal
yeah,
and postnatal.
prenatal and postnatal work. So we have a lot of things happening that's amazing here for the ladies in at the Lucy Bainey House. And again, the men's house, they're always out in the community. They're very interactive. We had a lot of them that came out to the event last Saturday because they want to be great dads. They want to work on rebuilding their families again. And I think the staff plays a huge role in that process.
Definitely, definitely. We had coach out there transporting the
Yep.
men so that they
Yep.
got to the program, so they were getting connected to the resources they need. You mentioned the daycare part at the Lucy Bales. That's a partnership through Alliance for Community Empowerment,
Alliance. Yeah.
with Dr. Ferguson. That's awesome as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
All right.
Amazing work. Amazing work.
Well, I thank you for your time. I know you have another program to get to.
Yes.
You're running from this place, that place, and all over, the city of Bridgeport, trying to help folks. So thank you again for your time, and look forward to having you back to talk about some of these other future programs.
Thank you so much for having me. And if you want to reach out to me, please have Earl give you my information and we could meet again.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. So, folks, that was some of the work that's going on in the community in the state of reentry, understanding the importance of reconnectivity with families. There are tons of things going on in the city of Bridgeport and throughout the state. And with that being the case, I wanted to mention there's a program currently ongoing, TCN Paths, and they're looking for recently incarcerated participants for a national study on transitioning from jail to the community. Participants will receive a referral for primary health care and up to $375 for completing 6 surveys. Eligibility and as to who can join, you need to be 18 plus years old, released in the past 30 days from a Connecticut facility, served 2 years or less, currently living in Bridgeport, history of opioid use or disorder. The contact information or call information is 475-306-1023, or you can email tcnpaths@yale.edu for more info. And we'll make sure to get this up on some websites and Facebook pages as well. One of the other things I briefly want to talk about as the state's legislative session has begun. It is a short session, so all the bills that are going to be reviewed by our legislatures are going to be coming out of committees. The ACLU of Connecticut is really focused on an act concerning collateral consequences of criminal records on housing. You may ask, what is this bill? This bill protects people from discrimination because of their criminal history by requiring public and private housing authorities to engage in an individualized assessment of people who are living with a criminal record when they apply to housing. It establishes the look-back period for individualized assessments 3 years for felonies from date of conviction. Landlords would not be permitted to consider criminal histories outside of the look-back periods. Bans discriminatory practices like asking about a person's criminal history on initial housing applications, similar to the ban the box for employment, unless required by federal law. Advertising rentals with limitations based on criminal history or lying about the availability of a rental because of a person's criminal history. It allows housing applicants to seek relief from the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities if they are discriminated against by landlords. Why do we need to support this bill? Connecticut residents with a criminal record face over 550 legal barriers to meeting their basic needs, making it difficult to reintegrate into society and to support themselves and their families. So this impacts housing as well as employment. People of color are disproportionately incarcerated. They are similarly disproportionately facing barriers ranging from background checks as part of rental and public housing applications, exclusions from fair housing law protections, eviction and housing forfeiture, and denial of rental or sale. 79% of formerly incarcerated people have been denied housing due to a criminal conviction, and they are 10 to 13 times more likely to experience homelessness than people who have not been incarcerated. At the same time, policies that criminalize homelessness, like laws against loitering or panhandling, increase the likelihood that people with a criminal record will come into contact with the system yet again. Additionally, why do we need to support this bill? Black women experience the highest rate of sheltered homelessness, almost 4 times more than white men and 2 times more than black men. Stable housing is the base of ensuring successful reentry. Yet our state makes it very difficult for people to actually obtain housing by constructing numerous collateral consequences related to housing. So I'm definitely looking to dig into more of this, and hopefully we can have some folks from the housing authorities. I know that Secretary of Housing Fudge has directed a lot of the local housing authorities throughout the country let alone the state, into looking more into this and eliminating barriers to housing for individuals who may have a criminal record. And I know that the local housing authority here in Bridgeport and other municipalities are doing some amazing work in trying to eliminate these barriers and house folks. So additionally, what would we like from this bill? To end blanket bans on housing for people living with a criminal record and instead require housing providers to use a holistic, individualized assessment of rental applicants to reduce gender and racial disparities and rates of homelessness when it comes to folks living with a record. Provide people with access to housing so they can grow and thrive within their communities. When people who are living with a record are given a fair chance to find housing, earn a job, get insurance, and reintegrate into society, we all succeed. What you can do to support this bill, write or call your representative and tell them that you support this bill. Find your legislatures at https www.cga.ct.gov/asp/menu/CGA findleg.asp. Submit testimony to the Judiciary Committee in support of the bill during its public hearing in late February to early March. You can find all of this information and more, including model testimony and a summary of the bill on our website, the ACLU's website, at https://www.acluct.org. Take action. I want to thank my guest today. I want to thank Tom Ficklin for allowing the opportunity of this platform to be used to discuss issues impacting our brethren and sisters who are impacted by the justice system and the reentry population. And thank you all for listening. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to myself at myra.service@bridgeportct.gov, and also the different reentry roundtables throughout the state of Connecticut at ctreentry.org. List the names of all the individuals that are chairing those reentry roundtables throughout the state, as well as when those individuals meet for their monthly meeting. I hope that you guys have found this information useful and my voice very pleasurable. So with that being said, you could have been anywhere else in the world with your time and you utilize it to get some information and hopefully some enjoyment. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you very much.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction.